What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. Hopefully you've subscribed on iTunes or Google Play, or you're checking the video out on YouTube, which is really just the audio on a picture of the logo, which either way, if you're listening to this or quote unquote watching it, I appreciate it. Actually, what's crazy is that in the month of June, I had the highest number of downloads for a single month in the history of the show. Not sure why, wasn't anything special, but thank you guys so much, and you guys sharing the show and getting more people to listen to it. It's the reason why this show continues to grow, and I appreciate that so much, guys. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Kevin Austin. He is a member of the PSVG group. So you can definitely listen to his stories and how his mom traumatized him with a power glove. Not in an awful, dirty way, but you'll listen and you'll hear what happened. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was and share your stories, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Kevin Austin. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Was it a family member, friend, little awesome kiosk you saw at one of the awesome sad stores that's now gone?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I got the original Nintendo Entertainment System the year it launched for Christmas. Santa dropped it off at my grandma's house, and I opened it, as well as my two older uncles also got it at the same exact time. So it was the bundle kit with Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers, the one that pretty much everybody got.
Right.
And that was the beginning of a lifelong obsession now going on 30 years now at this point. Owned every single Nintendo console after that. But yeah, the original NES was the first introduction to the world of video gaming.
Thanks, Santa. Oh, look what you did.
Yep.
Yeah, Santa started all of it, right? Santa started your collection of just ridiculous, all the money you've spent in the world. So thanks, Santa.
Yep.
Yeah, and also too, that Mario Duck Hunt, it was a staple, but somehow people ended up with multiple copies, which I don't understand why. One of those weird things. I've mentioned it before though, how NES had you go to a garage sale and somebody's selling a lot of 9 controllers and 7 zappers and 4 copies of Mario Duck Hunt. You're like, what the fuck you need all this for? Why? How is this acquired? One zapper. I don't think there's games that use 2 zappers. A zapper.
Yeah, that's true.
You need a regular controller to control things, and then you use the zapper. Okay.
What it is probably the same way I built up my collection through the NES days was, you go to yard sales and you just say hey, I'll give you $20 for everything you got here, and then you get it all, and then you turn around and sell it to somebody else, and it just kind of builds up. So eventually somebody has 12 copies of Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, which was hey, Nintendo's that's our top selling game of all time. It's well, yeah, no shit, you gave it away with every single console.
Right. By the way, that is such a bullshit stat, Nintendo. Get your head out of your ass. Everybody's all the saddest
Wii Sports, same thing.
Sports, God damn it. Wii Sports is one of the best selling games of all time, and that's not a fair statistic. Also, again, so this one's a little bit different, but Wii Play, because it came with the controller.
With the remote. It was cheaper to buy that.
It just happened to be the best deal, and it's by the way, if anybody has actually played Wii Play and went, that's a good game, fucking knock it off. You're a liar. You are a Nintendo apologist. You're just no. They gave you quality products. Shut up. Everybody bought it because it was it come with the remote, I guess. And I'm going to take an educated guess. More of those were used as coasters than games, the discs. I'm convinced. No one put that shit in their console. That's what happens. But
come on, you don't like their version of Tanks, which you could play in your Atari back in the day? It was literally the same game on Wii Play as it was back then. So
yeah, why aren't they getting sued? PUBG sued Fortnite. What the fuck, right? Nintendo's gonna owe somebody some money when they play that.
Atari needs the money more than Bluehole does. That's for damn sure. So.
Right, Atari's trying to relaunch some retro console sorta that also can play new games ish.
New games that nobody's making games for. It's okay.
When we heard everybody, they already sell classic consoles, aka it's just a fucking Atari controller that plugs into your TV.
Plug and play.
They had that before NES did, or Nintendo did their shit. So but yeah, when I heard that Atari's making again, Atari can get that Nintendo money, man. They're making that fat stacks right now. Just saying. How That would be fucking hysterical, though. Like, years later, we play ripped off tanks. Like, that's the lawsuit.
We want to retroactively sue. You know, we were fine at the time. We still had Chuck E. Cheese going, but you know, those are mostly all gone now. So we at Atari are really hurting now. So
I know,
please,
right? We got to fund the game developers for giving a shit about our console that we're coming out with. So
we want to make tanks too, and we can't because we don't have enough money to back that up. Kickstarter failed terribly.
A Kickstarter for Takes Two had like $27. That's it.
And it was their money. It was their seed money trying to plan it.
Yeah,
make
exactly.
It look better.
Like, hey, maybe we put some money in here. It'll get it started. Shit, we put in 25. There's 27. God damn it.
Top tier gets an Atari T-shirt.
Or just get his copy of We Play because they can play a text one. Used to be like, exactly. That's what it is.
Yep.
Geez. No, I mean, the garage sale thing though, I mean, that happened. I think also when people, I don't know what the point of this was, which I've learned lately. If a controller started dying out, you never tossed it in the trash.
No.
You just bought a new one, and that one had that shitty B button. Like,
Yep.
And then, of course, that was the one you gave your buddies. Like, fuck you.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Hey, my uncles, we used to play Double Dribble and like Blades of Steel all the time. Those are the ones that we played because they were big sports fans. And I was young. I was like, I didn't know any better. Like, I'm not huge into sports games overall, but those were awesome. So, right. And I would just destroy them. And it wasn't because of the controller thing, but that's what I do to my friends. But we would play all the time, and it's just like they would get so pissed because I was like 8 and they're in their 20s. And they're just getting wrecked, and they're like, I don't understand this. This is garbage. You don't even know the rules of hockey. I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting these slap shots in, and I'm beating you in fist fights. I don't care.
Right. That's what happened to me, like, with NHL 93 for Genesis. I straight was like, I don't know icing. I don't know offsides.
Yeah, right.
I know I can check the shit out of this dude, and he might crack his head open on the ice. I know that part, and I know when you fight, all of a sudden you go from north-south to east-west, so you can see the
side. Yeah.
Yep. I was like,
a little rock'em sock'em robot fighting style they had.
I'm like, that's what I know. But yeah, again, and it's funny because like my brother-in-law, we would play hockey games all the time. Like I started playing hockey games with him. I still didn't know hockey rules, and he's just like, "Do what? Stay on side." I'm like, "I don't know what offsides is," and he's like,
"Yeah,
you are killing me right now. We cannot play this game until you know these rules." I'm like, "Okay." I'm still confused on offsides in FIFA. I don't give a shit. Like, you will play and be like, "I'm offsides," like as a question. Like, are you sure? I don't know these things. Like, I don't know what to do right now. But that happens. Did you have? So obviously your uncles were cool and played with you, but they were much older. Did you have any brothers or sisters playing games with you around your age?
No, so I have a younger sister, but she actually she's autistic, okay. So her development was like way lower. So she gravitated towards gaming probably like when I left the house. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, it was except for those early days where I played with my uncles, it was pretty much a solo activity for me, which might be why I just kept playing because the olden days like multiplayer wasn't a big thing for a long time in gaming.
Right.
So I just played, and once I hit like high school and stuff, yeah, I played with buddies and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was just me in the house playing. Yeah, and it's funny because I think about like there were games that were back in the day that was multiplayer, but right around 64 is when shit got real. Like that's when GoldenEye and stuff. Yeah.
Anything for like GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Smash. I mean, and the funny thing is I'm naming all 64 games, but it's really true because that thing was like your multiplayer machine. So
oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
Everybody and their mother had that thing like just for multiplayer shit. But yeah, that was the one that I would say that's where it got crazy. I mean, there was still 2-player, but I mean, 2-player's cool, but I mean, it's
a lot of those were like it was really one player, but you were just alternating turns. Like, okay, I died. Now it's your turn to play. And I'm going to sit here and wait for you to die.
Right.
Like there wasn't a lot of co-op stuff other than like Contra back in the day where you could play both at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean some of the sports games. But the other problem too is like the other problem though is that they had 2 controller ports. So I mean, dude, nobody had that goddamn thing to put 4 controllers in. Nobody had that.
They didn't.
Like,
yeah.
Nobody. And I mean, if a game had 4 players, you're like, cool. We have 2. Like, just play 2 like that, and just take turns. Like I remember, what's weird is for the most part, a lot of the games when I think back on like Nintendo, it was a lot of single player stuff. Like for me, Genesis was the system I actually played a ton of multiplayer shit with, but it was more like me and my buddies just hanging out, staying up way past any time we should be allowed to. Mostly doing things just like Mortal Kombat taking turns.
Yep. Mortal Kombat.
NBA Jam taking turns.
Yep.
So it was more like the 2-player like versus type of shit that we did a lot of. Didn't really, but then like it was funny because when PlayStation hit, it almost went the opposite where we went back to just single player shit and taking turns that way. But yeah, I mean, also too, like when it was Nintendo, I didn't really. I think back now when I was a kid, like I didn't have many friends playing a lot of Nintendo shit. Like I had a Nintendo at my grandma's house. I would hang out at her house a lot. I would watch her wreck shit in Dr. Mario and Tetris, which boggled my 6-year-old mind.
Yep.
I didn't fucking comprehend how an older woman. Of course, Grandma, you're not old. I love you, but at the time I was 6. You were much older than me. Trying to comprehend how she was doing so well at a video game was just like, holy shit, this is crazy. But yeah, I mean and I remember just games like, and it's funny too because everybody had that one obscure game, like just that weird fucking game that everybody played. Like you'll say it and some people go, huh, and then they have to look it up. I had a game called The Guardian Legend. Yeah, exactly what you just did. That's what everybody did. But it's funny is because like it's if you asked me to describe it now, I couldn't. But I just remember that was my shit back in the day, dude. And it was like it was single player, it wasn't multiplayer. It was just one of those weird mystical games. Like the cover is like orange and it's got like these eyes and it's all like weird. But I just remember playing that and somehow I was like,
looking at it right now.
Yeah, I was like, this is cool. But again, nobody else knew what the fuck that game was. My favorite is like I talk to people and they're like, I played Knight Rider. Like I did this podcast, I did an episode, and I forgave whoever, I can't remember who said it. They're like, I played Knight Rider. I was like, holy shit. I could imagine a Knight Rider game. That would be awesome. Did you have those odd games that you think back now and you're like everybody's got one? Even if it wasn't for like NES, I mean, like there's still weird shit from way back in the day.
Oh yeah. I mean, those days you look at, especially the NES and SNES and even Genesis days. Those were the days of like licensed games where everything was off a cartoon or a movie, or I mean, there was a freaking Home Improvement video game like with Tim Allen. Like it made no sense. But one that sticks out for me, and I don't remember how I got it. I mean, my NES collection ended up being huge. Like I'm talking, I think I had 90 something games in my NES collection before I sold it off.
Wow.
But there was one that I had that was really obscure. It's called Monster Party.
I swear I've heard of the game, but I'm not.
It's one of those.
Drinking. Yeah. I'm not trying to think of it.
You were a boy, and basically you were transported to some sort of world where you had to fight off these different monsters. They had stuff like Medusa and like Cyclops and stuff like that. But you'd get a power up and it'd turn you into almost like a winged gargoyle, and you could like fly and shoot fireballs and stuff like that. But it was definitely like a side scroller thing. And I just remember the weird bosses. There was like a almost like a Little Shop of Horrors type plant that was a boss. It was just stuff like that. It was just a bunch of cool monsters. It was a side scrolling thing, but it was one of those rare games that during that time wasn't based on something that already existed. It wasn't a knockoff like Chippendales Rescue Rangers or DuckTales or all those kind of games we had out during that period there. So that one is one that always stuck out in my head that I remember from there. And then the other one that was big for me during the SNES days was, I mean, now it's everybody knows it and everybody, it's cult favorite there was Earthbound. I played that game when it launched. Like that was one that I was following in Nintendo Power. I'm like, this game looks dope. I need to play this game. So for me, I was like the only person I knew that knew what it was. Smash Bros. Came off 64 and you saw NES and everyone's like, who the hell's this guy? I'm like, I know who that guy is. Like I played that game.
Yeah, exactly.
And nowadays, it's all, everybody wants it and they want the sequel to it, but so many people have played it. Yeah, exactly. Which I freaking wanted to, but I played it when it first came out and I absolutely love that game. So those are the ones that I've always gravitated towards when I think back on those consoles.
Yeah, what's funny is if I look back at pictures of the Guardian Legend, and feel free to do your own Google searches. It's
not much video play now.
It's fucking weird. Like it's like
it almost looks like Blaster Master, and then it turns into like a jet, like a
there's like shoot 'em up parts. But then there's like action adventure walking around solving things. It's just a weird game. And again, it's funny because you ask like, how'd you acquire it? I don't know. I just don't remember. But yeah, that was the game that I had that I just remember this is the one odd game. And you're right with the license stuff. Dude, Home Improvement had a game though. I mean, I'm scared to ask or look at YouTube clips, but dude, Home Improvement show was a great show though. But again, like they preyed on so hard of like licenses that there were so many licensed games though that were hot trash.
Oh yeah,
hot trash, like just sadness. I mean, obviously everybody's gonna say E.T., which is really sad.
Yeah, that was the original one.
Yeah, it was the original one that just ruined it almost ruined an entire.
Yes,
an entire ecosystem of games and everything. It ruined a lot. But no, I remember I had Friday the 13th for NES.
I had that one too. Yep, that game.
It was
gave
cool,
me the chills. Scared the crap out of me as a kid. Like you just play something like, Yeah, he would just pop on the screen like this loud, boom, 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 and you're like, oh man, and
Yeah.
you just know you're dead. Like you're not beating him, so give it up.
I also love all the liberties that these game companies took when it came to licensed games, because it's like, I never saw that shit in Friday the 13th. Like, what are we doing? Like, what is that
Jason's
thing?
mother's head flying around. I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. Just saying.
The liberties they took with those games are just, some of them are comical, some of them are great, but then some of them are just like bad, like just real bad.
Oh, yeah.
But
and the best part is I had these games when I hadn't even seen the movies. Like I had Friday the 13th, I had the Nightmare on Elm Street, and I had nothing to correlate the relationship with. But I was like, hey, I need more games. Let's get this game. Like
Right.
that's all it was. Just I didn't get what it was, but yeah, stuff like Home Improvement made no sense. I remember the Home Alone one was another crazy one. You had to booby trap the house, and then just basically you spent all the time just running away from the burglars. Like that's all you did. Like,
right. And again, how much gameplay can you get out of that shit? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not a very big game or deep game. It's just like run in this direction, run away.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's funny because I look at the Monster Party game that you mentioned, and
Yeah.
it looks like they were just trying their hardest to get the Universal license for like Dracula and everybody, and then they were
Yeah.
like Universal at the last second pulled out, and they were like, "Fuck." Just call it Monster Party. Like, we can't call it Dracula or Universal Monster. Like, nope, we can't do that. So it looks like they had the Universal license and then they just lost it right away.
Yeah,
But,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, 1989. Jeez.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, we're not old though, right?
No, not at all.
I've said this before. I fear for the time when I have somebody on the show and they're like, "My first console's a PS2," and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm old." I'm so old. You just told me your first console's a PS2. Holy shit. That's the only thing I worry about. But I haven't hit that yet, thank God. But it's okay. So, I mean, again, everybody's gonna have a different experience. But the one thing too, like, and have you? And I mean, you mentioned off air that you have kids. Did you
Yeah.
ever do the thing where you were like, you should play retro first, then play this?
So, no, only because I know, especially if your kids have seen modern games, to go back, it's not easy. I do have the NES Classic though, so they have, and I hacked it, of course, because it's just so easy.
Of course, thanks Nintendo.
Yeah, right. I have like 300 games on mine, so I introduced them to all of them, and they've spent time with them. They've gone in like, maybe just 10, 20 minutes in some of these games, but it's enough that they're like, I get this.
Right.
But the reaction to almost all of them is like, this is so hard. And I go back and I can do okay with them myself, and I'm like, how did I do this as a kid? Like, I was able to beat most of these games when I was like 9, 10. I'm like, I can't do it anymore now. It's
Yeah.
like the Twitch reaction, I think, is gone. But I've introduced them, so they got the history. But yeah, I would never be like, hey, you got to start by playing the original Mario Bros. Before you dare play like Mario Odyssey. It's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, that doesn't really work that well. I think here's the thing. I'm trying to correlate it with why games are harder back in the day, and here's the thing though, because like even kids today who have the good Twitch muscles still say it's hard. I'm convinced that all of us just lied about the games we beat. We just fucking lied. None of us beat anything.
Game Genie must have done it. That's what it was.
Game Genie. That shit's not on that NES Classic. Where's the Game
That's
Genie
true.
USB plug that I can buy? Where's that shit at, right? No, I'm just convinced we all lied. And like none of us beat shit. That's the only thing I can come up with. They're hard. They're hard as
hard.
grown
They're
ass
so
men.
hard.
They're hard as a 32-year-old man. Like, I can't play that shit. Like, what are you talking about? And then, of course, again, when you get kids that are like, oh, I'm good, whatever. And then they play it and they go, wow, this is hard. I'm like, we all made
Lied.
shit up. Like, none of us beat that. I love that was like on the schoolyard though. Oh man, so-and-so beat this, or so-and-so got past this level. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, he didn't. That guy's a fucking liar. Like, he didn't do
He doesn't even
that.
have that game. I've been to his house.
Yeah, exactly. He's a liar. He rented it over the weekend and beat it in one sitting. Shut up. No, he didn't. Nobody did that. Again, it was just,
I remember at the schoolyard, all the kids after, do you remember the movie The Wizard?
yes. Oh,
So
yes.
after that came out, there were so many people that were like, I've already played Mario Bros. 3. It's like, no, you didn't. You just saw The Wizard and you think you did. Because that's where they debuted it. I remember when that came out. It was just like, everyone was so psyched. It was like, that's the first time you saw Mario 3 was ever on this. Like,
Right.
And then all these people were like, yeah, my dad knows so many Nintendo. I got a copy. I've already played it. It's like, all right, tell me about it. And they told you literally the same scenes you saw in The Wizard. Like,
Yeah, man, there's this cool scene where you fly up above this wall and you just keep going right and you get this
You
flute.
whistle.
It's cool, man. It's a whistle. Like, dude, we all saw that movie. What the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
everybody saw it. By the way, real quick, kid, playing Mario, you didn't know like, how do you know that shit? You know what though? He actually is the kid who had an uncle at Nintendo. He's the only one. He's the only one in the world who actually had that uncle at Nintendo who told him that shit, because he knew that
There's no way
they showed the game.
Yep.
Because he's so good at video games, he can see above screens and see
that no
code.
game had ever done before
Yeah,
to do something like that. And then also the other bullshit part of that too is like, you need more than one warp whistle to get to the end. I know how it works, man. You need 3.
Yeah,
so shut up, you liar.
You're a
Like,
goddamn liar, kid. You don't know shit about video games. And for some reason, you didn't talk much through the game. Whatever. And then the guy,
California.
California. God, that movie. Again, that's the sad thing too. Is like certain things you go look back on. That movie in particular, like, and just things in general. When you were a kid, you were like, "This is the shit," and then you go back as an adult, and you're like, "I was dumb. I had no taste in anything." Video games and all, but also too things like, and it's sad to say because this will break some people's nostalgic hearts, but the original Power Ranger series is real bad.
But I love that one.
But you do. Again, you do because it was a kid and it brought you such joy. Go back and watch Power Rangers the movie as adults with a critical eye. And
no,
you
see,
will
the movie was garbage because they changed it. They weren't the normal thing. But yeah, so it's funny you bring that up. My middle daughter, who's 11 now, I introduced her to Power Rangers because she was watching like, I don't know what Nickelodeon had it before, like Power Rangers Samurai, I think is what it was. So she was watching Nickelodeon, that came on. She was like, "Daddy, I like this." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not bad." I was like, "Let me show you the original." That's when Netflix like put them all on there. So I was like, "Go back and watch these ones." And she loved it and got the movies and she like was into it for a while. But yeah, it was. No, you're right. It's garbage.
It's
but
really bad. And then of course now, like, I mean, again, like, it's weird because as a kid, it's just if it's bright and flashing lights in front of your face, you love it and it doesn't matter. But yeah, like I feel bad for making my mom take me to Power Rangers the movie because it's really bad. Power Rangers the video game, again, that's the one I've harped on as the game where they preyed on 6-year-old boys to beg their parents for a $90 Genesis game that you beat in 30 minutes. Yep. Sorry, Mom. Whatever. But no, I mean, my son's the same way though. He started watching Power. That's actually how I found it again. Like, my son was just watching Netflix in his room, and all of a sudden I go in there and I'm hearing the theme, and it was like, again, that perked that ear, like,
this is awesome.
This is awesome.
Like, right into the room.
In there, I'm like, "Are you watching Power Rangers, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yes, that's awesome." And I sat and watched an episode, and I'm like, "Yo,
I can't do this.
I'm gonna leave before my childhood is friggin' ruined. I'm out of here." And then, but yeah, he liked them. And again, I think there's a certain age where Power Rangers is just cool because it's flashing and explosions and karate.
Yeah.
And I just love back in the day the PSAs for video games and those TV shows. Don't do karate moves on your family. Like, don't kick your cats. Don't do, fireworks don't explode out of your family's chest when you kick them. Please stop doing this.
But then they still sell you the weapons though, so it's okay. It's like you get the little dragon sword and everything.
I remember, and this is again really embarrassing to say, when I was little, Tommy's white Ranger sword.
I had it too.
Dude, I saw it at a store. And as we were leaving, when we weren't getting it, I was just crying tears of like the saddest tears you could ever see in a kid. It wasn't like I was a brat, like, "I want that, I want that, I want that." I was just literally leaving, just
your heart just breaking.
just like I just want it so bad. And then I remember like we stopped at the food court on the way out. My grandma's like, "I forgot something. I'll be right back." And she went and got it, but then just gave it to me on Christmas. Like, it was around Christmas time shopping, and she's like, "I forgot something. I'll be right back." So she went and bought it. And then, like, obviously I was stupid. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she bought that. Pretty sure. But no, of course, Christmas morning I got it. And I was like, yes. But dude, I've seen those kids, like, lose their shit. Like, "I want the toy. I want the toy." I knew better than to do that. Because I was just
beaten.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the days you can hate your kids. You can't do that now.
Back in the day when you could backhand your kids, shut the hell up. But no, it was just sad. It was just like, just sad, crying tears flowing down my face. It's okay. Everybody has that thing though.
They do. They do. For me, to bring it back to gaming was and also kind of tying it back to the Wizard. Remember what was the villains? Lucas? Yeah, Lucas was the bad guy, the bad boy. He had the power glove.
Yep, power glove.
So I wanted the power glove so bad, and we could not find it, just like everybody else during that time. You could never find it. One day we walked into Toys R Us, rest in peace, Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And they had like a giant pile of them. So the weird thing was that people don't remember back then was they actually came in sizes. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all thing, obviously, because people have different hands. If it was an adult playing, kid playing, so there's small, medium, large. Yeah, so you can go and you could try it on to find out what size you were. So my mother, after all this time searching for these things, was like, found them. She was like, hey, try this on, find out what size it was. And I was in medium, I remember this. And she's like, okay, let's go. Never bought it for me.
Never?
I was so pissed. I bought it myself like a year later after that, but I was so pissed at my mom. I was like, that was the worst shade you could throw at a kid ever. I was like, she knew I wanted it so bad. That was like the only thing I was asking for the Nintendo is like, I want the Power Glove. I want to play my games with it. And there was a couple games in it that were cool. Most of it was garbage, but it was a couple. But I wanted it so bad. We finally found it after like a year and trying the ones. You know what it is? Okay, let's go. And never bought it for me.
Dude, that's cold as ice, Mom. Like, did she? You should ask her now. Like, yo, why?
She laughs about it. She brings up that story. She's like, hey, remember that time we went and tried on the Power Glove? I'm like, yes, I remember. You fucking damaged me for life.
I'm in therapy thanks to you, Mom.
I can't take my kids shoe shopping because they try stuff on. I just get triggered.
It's just triggered. You just get in the child triggered. I gotta go home and get my Power Glove.
I'm in the aisle of Payless, like twitching on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. No, so like, did she? I wonder if she like initially had the idea of getting you one, and then something else came up, and she's like, I'd rather get him this instead.
I guess, I don't know.
Wow. Had you try the shit on?
Mm-hmm. And then we walked out of the store, not buying it.
I mean, here's the thing though, like, in your head, you're like, oh, I tried it on. That might.
Yeah, I'm like, we're trying it on. I'm getting this. Like that was in my head. Like, I'm getting this because we're doing it now. Like, even if she bought it for me and said, get it on your birthday or something, I'm like, I still didn't find it. I'm like, I'm trying this. I'm getting it. Nope.
Man, that's really sad.
Bought it on clearance a year later.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, because nobody gave a shit after they realized, hey, Lucas, that you made it look... Dude, Lucas is the greatest advertisement for the Power Glove ever. That whole... By the way, the Wizard, biggest commercial ever. Longest commercial ever sold, ever. It's... Yeah, that... Again, though, kids, very impressionable. Mm-hmm. There's laws against advertising on kids now for certain reasons. Like, you kind of have to do that shit now. But yeah, I mean, especially with gaming though, because I mean, that was, man, I didn't know the Power Gloves though had different sizes. It makes a lot of sense.
It does, but you don't think about that. I mean, there were adjustable straps, but there was still, because of the hand portion, you can tighten it around your wrist, but you couldn't actually tighten it around your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that makes sense. Yeah, I never. I saw the movie, never gave a shit about it. I was just,
there was literally only one game I played all the time. I don't remember the name of it either, but you were a hand, and it was like you were looking forward,
right?
And it was almost like a brick breaker type game, but it was, instead of being up and down, it was like you were throwing the ball forward. So the ball would bounce off the screen. You actually had to catch it, swing back, and throw it. And wherever you threw it, it would go in that direction. Gotcha. So you keep catching, breaking through the walls, and you have enemies there to fight and stuff just by doing that. But that was like the only game I think I ever played on it was just that one, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like, I didn't have any weird peripherals. Dude, I remember back in the day though, Genesis started coming out with some weird shit. Like, they had this thing. Of course, everybody had, there was a Power Glove, there was a Zapper, there was the NES Advantage, which was just an awesome controller.
Yeah,
that was just a solid ass controller. But then there was like Genesis had this thing that went on the floor and it looked like a UFC octagon that like went around you that you could do fighting and you like kick and
you would kick and punch.
And there was these god awful sensors that wouldn't send shit. And I'm sure there's 3 games that use it, but they had that. For some reason, I don't remember why, but like they had guns. They had the Super Scope, which again, like definitely never caught traction like the Zapper did.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Genesis had a gun as well, but again, never really caught traction. Shout out to those, because those are no longer around. Thanks LED TVs, you done ruined that shit. You can't do it. You just can't. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of like weird ass peripherals that all these companies started having, and I'm trying to think, I never really had many of those weird peripherals. I think the one... No, actually, I didn't have any shit like that. But yeah, dude, I can imagine the heartbreak of your mom just straight going, yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm. Again, my grandma did the same shit, except for she saw a 6-year-old boy just on the verge of melting down. Like, not in a panicky, like, bratty way, but just in a, this kid will never be the same if I don't buy this shit. So,
yeah,
that's all right. So then you mentioned going from NES with all your awesome games and your Power Glove and all that shit. And then you just kind of went, like you were mentioning earlier, you kind of went down the Nintendo rabbit hole. So you just kind of like follow suit, went to SNES. At that time, were your uncles still into playing games and shit, or did they kind of get over that like after NES?
They got over it after the NES.
Yeah.
They never really looked back either, which was weird. I was the only one in the family who just kept going with it. Even today, like my cousins who are, younger than me, but not that much, 5-10 years, none of them play video games.
That's crazy.
Like I was the only one in the family that caught the bug and just ran with it.
Yeah. I think it was like, I've thought about this as like, the NES was almost like that staple, which ended up being the Wii as well.
Yep,
where just like everyone and their goddamn mom had one in their home. It was just like a thing. And of course it was more or less like, we're having an adult party. There's an NES in that room over there. And you just get like 7 kids who you don't know at like an adult party. Like, hey, everybody go in that room. Leave us the hell alone. So I mean, it's just like everybody had one. And I think, right after NES is when people were just like, and, dude, the best is when you go back, there was a news article I saw. It was like a on the news, like an evening news program that was talking about how the Super Nintendo was more money and it didn't play your old games and how people were straight pissed. And I'm like,
yeah,
you guys didn't have the internet yet to bitch at. So
right.
You were talking to like Bob at Channel 3 News. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy to think about that. But yeah, dude, I mean, you still had to play games. I definitely was one of those that didn't give a shit about brand loyalty because I bounced everywhere. I didn't give a damn. I was just like, I don't care about Nintendo, I'm gonna go Genesis. I don't care about Sega, I'm gonna go PlayStation. I didn't give a shit. I don't care about PlayStation, I'm gonna go Xbox. Till it hit Xbox, and then I was just like, I'm just gonna keep going this route. But now you get to a point where you're older and you can buy everything you want, so who cares, right? I mean, whatever, doesn't matter. It sounded like you were pretty fortunate to have the ability to have like that many games. So then, was it a situation, I mean, obviously everybody had the birthday Christmas situation where birthday Christmas, did you do, because you said you had like 90 games and you're not 100 years old, so how did you get that many games? Like, how did that happen?
a lot of them were yard sale pickups. And after the NES, I didn't get another console at launch until like freaking GameCube. So it was always like after the fact. So SNES would be out, so I could hit a yard sale and get like 10 NES games, no problem. So it was like a lot of building up for stuff like that. But yeah, it was like birthdays, Christmas, sometimes special things. Like I remember I had my tonsils taken out when I was a kid, so my mom was like, here, let me buy you like 2 games so you have something to do, because you can't talk like for a week, a couple days or whatever. So it was stuff like that. I would get games during those instances. But yeah, I wasn't a kid who was like into a lot of different things, so like it was just kind of focused on just this, so I was able to accumulate. But a lot of them, I would say at least half, if not more, were yard sale pickups down the line that I did, because my family was always big into yard sales back in the day. So like every weekend we hit it and the weather was nice, like, oh, let's go find what we can do, and I could almost always find someone that had video games. So
where did you grow up at?
I live in Rhode Island, so I've spent my whole life in the smallest state.
There you go. Yeah, that tiny state. Yeah. Yep. No, but I mean also like because I'm thinking about the other things too. Like for example, like in Rhode Island, obviously during wintertime, you were like, no, I'm staying inside playing games, because like you said, you didn't have many other things that piqued your interest and everything. Because the funny is, I'm in Arizona, and it's the exact opposite. Because right now in the summertime, I'm like, kids, do not go outside. No. You will die. Like you will. It was 114 today. You will die. Don't go outside. But it was the exact inverse when I was growing up, because I grew up in Illinois, and they were like, it's beautiful. Go outside. Leave. Go do something. It's gorgeous outside. So yeah, it's the exact opposite. But now in the wintertime, that's the opposite here. In the wintertime, it's like 70 degrees and it's gorgeous outside.
Go outside. It's amazing.
Go to the park. It's wonderful outside. But yeah, I think about that too, because like you were talking about how you kind of focused in with gaming, so that was your primary thing. Man, if I didn't have like Star Wars, or if I didn't have Pokemon cards, or again, I had so many dumb things that lasted a year, and I'm sure my grandma hated it, because like I was into yo-yos. Don't know why. Okay. There was like I was for like a solid year. I was like, yo-yos are the shit. I'm gonna get some yo-yos. I got an awesome yo-yo, and then like a year later, I was like, yo-yos are dumb. I'm done. This is stupid. But yeah, I mean, like if I had just stuck to, and then for like years I was into Star Wars. So like instead of saving money for a game, I would just do some yard work and go buy Bib Fortuna, because I wanted that figure for some stupid reason. I did do some wrestling action figures. I had some of those. Yeah. I did those, and I was that kid who kept them all in the package, like during the whole era when WWF. I'm not WWE garbage. Yeah, goddamn. We say WWF. We're old enough. We remember the good old days. So I had all those figures, which I kept for years up until I got married, actually, and then I sold them and made
a shit ton of money off of
There
them,
you
so
go.
it was nice. But yeah, I kept them all in the package and did that. But those were like all purchases I did like myself, so
Right.
I still left it open for video games for everybody else to get me.
It was always the thing, like, yeah, for me with the Star Wars figures. I mean, video games were like a bigger deal. So, like, video games tended to be your birthday, your Christmas, unless you bust your ass and do it yourself. But all my other smaller purchases, I was just like Star Wars figures. So I was like, if I do this, can you go buy me this? Because they were like $5. What my grandma didn't realize is that there's 80 of them, and I needed all of them. So I'm like,
yes.
But again, she got child
I'll be
labor
doing
out of it.
chores forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Basically, I need
Go
an
read
X-Wing.
some leaves, okay?
Yeah, I need an X-Wing. I need a TIE fighter. I need Luke. I need this. Yeah, so, yeah, thanks, Star Wars. And then you know what sucked? The Star Wars video games fucking sucked. They did. And they didn't come out on Genesis. They only came out on Super Nintendo, and I was so pumped to play them. And then I played one, and I was like, this sucks. I don't like this.
They weren't good until like
64.
I think the first one, Shadows in the Empire, I think,
Yeah.
and then N64 was like the first one, and then like Rogue Squadron after that was good, and then we've had some hits or misses, but mostly they've as a majority, I would actually say most of the Star Wars games were bad.
Yeah,
overall.
there's a shit ton of them. There's a lot.
Yeah,
of
well, yeah.
them. But yeah, like, and the worst one was I tended to have the console that didn't have either Star Wars games or any good ones. I had a Genesis. Star Wars was on Super, but again, it wasn't that great of a game.
No.
I had PlayStation, which had like no Star Wars games, and there was like some okay. Then there was that Masters of whatever awful fighting game that I was so pumped for, and I got a demo disc. It was like a combat game. It was like a fighting game, but it had, lightsabers. And I was like, this is awesome. You get to have a fighting game with Star Wars characters. And it sucked. And I was just like, this is what I get. And then, of course, pod racing. Hey, guess what? Episode 1 pod racer was fine. It was fine. It wasn't amazing. But
It was okay.
It was okay. But everybody was way Star Wars hype for episode 1 until they saw it. And they, like, dude, you could have put episode 1 like on NES, and I would have been like, I don't care, I'll go buy it. Like, everybody was buying everything, and then they saw the movie, and yikes. It's okay. We all live and learn, right? We're stupid at one point in time. We make bad mistakes. That's fine. So obviously, but also though, you had some solid games though. You had Earthbound. You had so that was the other thing too. It sucked because like as a Genesis kid, I felt like I missed out on RPGs as a genre for that entire.
I mean, you had was it Breath of Fire was on there?
There was, and like Phantasy Star, but they weren't as
Phantasy
prevalent.
Star. They were okay.
Like,
they weren't as prevalent.
Like
though, no.
there were so many more on Super Nintendo, like so many more, and I just feel like, and I got an RPGs at PlayStation because like a PS1 was basically your RPG factory. That thing just pumped them out. Like I swear to God, it felt like they pumped them out every other week, and they were just awesome. Like, they didn't suck, so, okay. And there was always, like, that's that weird one game somebody will have some random-ass Japanese RPG, and you're like, I don't even know what that is, but that's cool.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then, so you continue with Super, you had that, and then obviously everybody kind of stopped playing games with you and stuff like that. Then you got the 64.
Well, I did the Genesis briefly. Had that for, like, a year, and then moved on, because there wasn't a ton on there that was...
I tried
clicking with me.
I like as a kid then though I was more into just the popular shit. So like NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, Sonic. I mean,
Sonic.
Of course, you had to have Sonic. But there wasn't like I tried to give all the Sega franchises a go. I tried. By the way, I've replayed Comic Zone recently. The game is not fucking good.
I remember Comic Zone.
It's such a good concept, and it's such a cool like thing. And I was like, and then there's just gameplay aspects of it that are just
terrible,
bad.
Altered Beast, those are all bad.
Vector Man, again, that was one of those games where they started pseudo 3D-esque shit. What's funny, I remember the other game that tried to do that shit around the same time, Toy Story, the video game. It was like the 2D side-scroller, but like sort of rounded edges, so it made it look 3D-esque. But like Vector Man could turn into a tank, and he could blow shit up, and I was like, this is cool. And no, it's okay. It's not that great. But again, that was what happens when you're a stupid Genesis kid. And then, but again, I just had the games that everybody played. Like, I mean, also too, I was really jealous because like Street Fighter was obviously better on Super Nintendo because they had more versions of it on Super, but Mortal Kombat was so much better on Genesis. So again, that's your little console wars thing there too. I don't know, but that's fine. But then 64, obviously. So then around that time though, did you have friends that were coming over to play then, or were? I mean, you mentioned your sister earlier, but I mean, did she ever play games with you?
Yeah, just a little bit during that era, but more during the GameCube era. But yeah, I had friends come over that did N64, so it was like a lot of Mario Party going on. So, like you said, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, all those things. GoldenEye, of course. Like those are all ones you played with friends. But most time it was like one other person, sometimes two. We rarely got like 4 people linked up to play N64 or anything at that time.
I think that's the console too that like. I'm not going to say Nintendo forced it, but Nintendo was probably just like, can you just put 4 players on anything? Like
totally. Everything was 4 players.
Everything was 4 player. They didn't give a shit. They were just like, I don't care if the game runs at 6 frames a second. Put 4 players in it. Like we want that. And I mean, it worked out to their advantage because like I feel that around that time, obviously, and it's funny now because people complained about, like example when PS4, Xbox One came out. This is 1080p. This is 720p. Hey, guess what? At least they're the same game,
right?
Because like you weren't getting the same games, like
not
at
all.
Like you were straight getting games due to physical limitations not being possible. Like I was happy to own a PlayStation because, example, Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah,
dude. Every Tony and the soundtrack was awesome. And then like I just remember like by the time they were at like Tony Hawk 2 or 3, which 3 was when they started going to PS2 and stuff, but like Tony Hawk 3 came out on PS1, but then like around that time N64 was just getting 1 or 2 or something. It was really weird.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, games were not coming out at the same time, let alone be the same game.
Exactly. Yeah, and then like again, I felt like at the time, like PlayStation was like certain games were there, but like your big multiplayer games, no, again, they weren't on PlayStation. Like nobody gave a shit. Like everybody's like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Mario Kart, Smash, Mario Party. Those were
Turok.
Games.
I remember that one. Turok was a big one.
Turok. My favorite thing is when they made such a big deal on Xbox. Like we're re-releasing and upgrading Turok. I'm like, the hell asked for that? Like,
it's like who remembers that? Let it be where it was. Like, no,
Kickstarter showed that. Or like, what? Who funded that Kickstarter? Fucking take their credit card away from them.
You can do a new one if you want, like, but don't try and remaster it unless you do it from like ground up. Like,
yeah. Again, though, it's funny. It's like who even owns that license? Because it was a claim, which is now gone. So it's like,
who knows?
I don't know either. That's one of those weird ones. But yeah, like I mean, like Resident Evil games. And again, they eventually...
You only had Resident Evil 2 on N64. That was the only one you had.
And again, it was like, how'd you even... The whatever geniuses made that work, good for you guys, because that was 2 disc, and I'm just like, wow, you guys figured that shit out. But that was around the time when there was a complete diverse, like, and of course, nobody gave a shit about Saturn, whatever. That thing was over there fucking having fun by itself, doing nothing. That was the kid you didn't pick for kickball, and you just let him play by himself in the corner. You're like, stay over there, fucking... Don't bother us.
And ironically, that was the same kid who actually had one. So it's the same you picked last to kickball, so it worked out.
Right. Nobody. Poor kid. He's over there like, you guys ever play Knights? The fuck out of here, kid. Nobody wants to talk to you.
We'll play Seaman?
Yeah,
no.
You guys ever play those, man? Those are fun games. No. Virtual Fighter? The fuck out of here. Nobody wants to play games with you, kid. Poor kid who had a Sega Saturn. Aw. Hey, anybody who's listening, if you were that poor kid who only had a Sega Saturn, I'm sorry I offended you, but dude, come on. Get your shit together. I know you were probably a young kid and you didn't know any better, but come on, dude.
And tweet at him so you can be on the next episode and he'll just ridicule you for like an hour or so. So please.
No. I just want to sit and just hear you talk and just hear your logic. Like, I won't ridicule you. I just have you on the show and go, ladies and gentlemen, this guy owned a Sega Saturn. I'm going to let him talk for an hour. Go ahead.
Hands on your chin. Like,
yeah, it's story time, people, with somebody who wasted money on a Saturn. Here you go. Yeah, dude. I mean, again, it's funny because like Genesis was so popular and then Saturn tanked hard.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like that's a big drop. That's almost as big of a drop as Wii to Wii U because that shit was abysmal. Like,
oh yeah,
how, dude? Just people at Nintendo going, "What the fuck did we do? We sold.
Why did we name it the same thing?
We sold 100 million of these things, and now we're at the 10 million at year 5 or something, dude. They. I think
it was 8 million. I think is what they ended at. So yeah.
God, a whole console generation. You sold 8 million consoles. I don't want to look up Saturn sales. I'm gonna look.
Or Dreamcast. Dreamcast is gonna be close to that too.
And you know what though? I'm almost positive that Sega Saturn sold worldwide. Hold up, there's not even real figures. These are just estimates. Listen to this. Sega Saturn sales figures, edit. Estimates from the number of Sega Saturn consoles sold worldwide ranges from over 9.5 million to as high as 17 million.
That's a big discrepancy.
That's double. How are you going to screw that up, dude? Like, Saturn, dude, they cooked the books hard on those stockholders. They're like, fuck, somewhere between 9 and 7.
9 or double it, somewhere. We have real bad accountants. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
We lost a spreadsheet. We don't remember. Like, what just happened? How are you going to say from 9.5 million units to as high as 17 million units? That's probably where it all went wrong. That's where Sega lost all of its money because they had that dude.
They had bad accountants.
Yeah, bad accountants and somebody who can't sell spreadsheets. So, wow. How many Dreamcasts were sold? 10 million. That's a more accurate number. That actually says like 10.6 million, not this bullshit fake number. If you don't believe me, go to Sega Saturn sales and Google top one. Good Lord. Anyways, so then obviously 64. Did you ever go PlayStation?
I went PlayStation 2 is where I had everything Nintendo up until PlayStation 2, with the exception of that Genesis for a brief period of time. Sure. My wife actually got me a PlayStation 2 as our wedding gift when we got married, and that opened up the doors for me into a different world. Nintendo games are great, but they're very cookie cutter formulatic. Yeah. You know what you're getting. Like, you get a Mario, it's going to be good because it's Mario and you know what it is. Right. So this opened up a world to new things. So PS2 was primarily, for me, it was a Final Fantasy machine, a Kingdom Hearts machine, and a GTA machine. That's kind of like all I played on PS2, which is fine because I could not get any experience like that on a Nintendo console. And then from there on, I went along kind of PS3, kept going with Nintendo. I've owned every single Nintendo console they've ever done, including Virtual Boy. And went from PS2 to PS3. Had an Xbox 360 for a brief period of time. That just didn't click with me. There wasn't enough.
I think everybody did, just because Xbox Live was so dominant.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people had that.
Yeah, there just wasn't any games that clicked with me at the time. Like, right. I was just so into PS3 and all the experiences there. And I'm like, it's stuff like Uncharted and Infamous and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I love these games. And nothing clicked with me on Xbox except for, like, Alan Wake. Right. But recently, within the last, when did I get the Xbox One? 4 or 5 months ago? Mm-hmm. Something like that. I love the Xbox One, so that's great. And I'm experiencing things like Game Pass, stuff like that. I think is fantastic, and just different experiences I couldn't get before. Right. So now I'm starting to appreciate it more, and it's clicked with me more. But now at this point, I have everything. But yeah, lifelong, it's been always Nintendo, and then Sony had picked up on PS2 and ran with it, and then now just getting into the world of Xbox.
I think the one big thing that certain companies want to do, but then not do, that is so beneficial and it's crazy, is backward compatibility. Yeah. Example, you didn't have a PlayStation 1, so you didn't experience those games. Mm-hmm. You got a PS2 that literally could play every PlayStation 1 game. Yep. So your library, from day one, you already had all this shit you could go play.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was the new shit that was coming out. So that's like such a big selling factor. And again, I understand some people are like, why do you want to play old games? Then Xbox One announces backward compatibility, and people
lose their
go
fucking
mind.
Yeah, that's how I played Final Fantasy VII, was on a PS2 because I didn't have a PS1, so I was able to experience those games because of that. Yeah,
and I think that's like it's weird, but like I think certain companies are starting to catch on. They're like, well, Microsoft is this generation at least, but I think it's insane that they're going back to original Xbox because, like, it's the exact. Yeah. But the thing is, in your case, it's the same thing going to Xbox One because literally now there wasn't much on 360 that you played. There wasn't games that clicked. But like the fact that if somebody owned a PlayStation their entire life, PS2, PS3, PS4, didn't give a shit about Xbox, and then bought an Xbox One, they literally can go back and play like all of these ridiculously good games, and it's cool. And like I said, like PlayStation 2 figured that shit out, and then with 3 they sort of figured it out for the first 6 months or a year, and then PS4 they just straight went, no, like we're not even bothering with this shit. And it sucks because I mean now people have gotten into the mode of like, well, you could just rebuy remasters, but dude,
not all of them are remastered. Like, I want to go back. I would love to play a remastered Infamous 1 or 2, or the early Killzone games, or what was it, Resistance? That series was great on PS3, and it just went away. Like, I would love those remasters. Xbox is doing it. I can play Master Chief Collection. I can play, Gears 1 remastered. You can all the Xbox One X enhanced games. Right, and they're fantastic. And this is how I'm seeing. So I did play all the Gears games with a friend, 1, 2, and 3 at least, on the 360 with him. So I've had that experience, but like seeing it now, it's so much better. And Sony's just like, forget it. We just sell enough consoles. We don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah,
like, too bad. Go back.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad, but I mean, like, that's one thing that, like, again, like, at that time, the only thing that had backward compatibility was Game Boy. Like, you know, when you had a home console, that shit was fresh start, here you go. But then you getting a PS2, like, dude, that, I can imagine just, you have all these games, go have fun. And now that that's just evolved with Game Pass, because honestly, Microsoft, with them doing Game Pass, but not just, I mean, Game Pass as a service in general, a phenomenal idea.
Oh, yeah.
What's even better is they're straight like, we're going to put all the best 360 games on this shit because we own them and we can. So they're like, you want to play every Gears game? Cool. You want to play every Halo game in like a month? Cool. Yeah. Like, Master Chief Collection not on there yet.
All the Fable games are on there. Like all that stuff is
like they're just like, have this service and you literally can play every really good Xbox game. Like, it's insane, but you know, that's what a lot of people, and that's why around PS1 era is when, and I've said before, I've stopped playing games for like a good couple of years because skateboarding took over my life. I didn't do shit.
Sure.
I skateboarded, but thanks Tony Hawk, you actually made me skateboard and stop playing games, and then I came back. But by the time I came back, I literally was just kind of like, I missed a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Which is in a way cool, because by the time I got a PlayStation, I was like, dude, holy shit, there's a lot of
so
games.
Much to play.
Yeah, there's like so much to play. And then working at a game store helped that, because you were like, I have access to all this shit.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that, and again, but from then on, it's been games, nothing but games. Like, I don't give a shit about other things. I'm too fat to skateboard now, so it sucks, but whatever. But no,
sorry, so is Tony Hawk, so it's okay.
Dude, no, stop your, shut your mouth. Tony Hawk, dude, I still follow skateboard culture because I'm like, man, skateboarding's still awesome. I'm too old and fat to do it now. But dude, Tony Hawk put out a part, 50 tricks at 50.
Yeah.
Dude's 50 years old and he's still doing it. And I'm
it's
like,
crazy.
Good for you, man. Your knees are probably destroyed and you've probably had them replaced 1,000 times. But good for you.
And then you look at Bam Margera.
Oh, poor Bam. Booze. He turned into Phil. That's the scariest thing in the world.
He is. Yeah, I know.
He kind of did. Which is a really big fear. Every son fears that. You're like, dude, my dad, when he died, was a very large man, and I was a really skinny kid, and he's like, wait till you're 30. Wait till you're 30. He kept just like saying under his breath, like, yeah, wait till you're my age. Wait till you're older. Wait till you're older. And then I turned 30, and I was like, oh my God.
You're like, keep eating those cheese puffs, jackass.
Yeah, exactly.
Someday
I would eat
you're
triple
like,
Whoppers in front of his face. He's like, keep that shit up. Keep it up. Wait till you're 30. Yeah, dude, and it happened, but it's sad. But yeah, you can still, I mean, that's the other thing too, real quick. Where's all of our Tony Hawk games? You know what it is though? That's what sucks. The licensing nightmare for the music.
You can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah.
I agree, it sucks. But then do it and just put an original soundtrack. Like,
true.
I'm okay with it. Like, yes, the music was a big part of the game, but if you really want a game, like,
Tony Hawk 5 was trash. You know what's crazy is one of the biggest announcements of backward compatibility for Xbox was when Skate 3 got put backward compatible, because people freaked out. People were like, yes, that's all.
So wait, here's the thing, and we talked about this on PSVG about when people were like all hyped that Skate 4 was supposedly going to get announced at E3, and we got Sessions instead. Here's my thing. Skate 3 was fine, but if I recall, when Skate 3 came out, nobody cared. So why is everybody all hyped about Skate 4 and then Skate 3's announcement? It's like, you're only hyped because you didn't get Skate 4, but I'm trying to figure out who played Skate 3. I don't remember anybody liking it back then.
This guy did. No, so here's what it was. True people who, like, let me rephrase that. Pure-ass skateboarders loved the Skate series. Because Tony Hawk, for the longest time, like, we liked Tony Hawk 1. And then Tony Hawk 2 added, you know, every iteration they were adding shit. And I was like, cool. But then it became Jackass. Literally.
Yes, literally. I remember that. I had that one.
It turned into Jackass. And it just turned into ridiculous shit. And then you got to a point where you're like, I don't like grinding on power lines anymore. I don't like fucking doing 1080s all up and down these giant ass ramps and shit. And then Skate came out, and as a skateboarder, you were like, this is pure skateboarding. This is pure, hard.
Okay.
This is realistic. This is not. Now, granted, Skate 2 and Skate 3 came out, and they started getting a bit more ridiculous. But at the same time, they were starting to introduce, like, the mega ramps and shit like that, which is just where it started getting bigger anyways. But, like people who enjoyed skateboarding loved the fuck out of skate games. They were just so good. Now, I played it in, like, Skate 1. I remember, like, Skate 1 was one of the first games that I was like so amped I bought a 360 for. It was that and Halo 3 were around the same time, and I was like seeing all these things for Skate 1, and I was fucking freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, this is a real skateboarding game. So people who enjoyed skateboarding thoroughly enjoyed those games, bought those games, played those games. Afterwards is when you started seeing people do ridiculous shit on YouTube and all that stuff, and that's where a lot of the spark came from. I will 100% tell you, EA's conference was straight ruined when they didn't announce Skate 4.
Everyone thought it was a shoo-in.
I was sitting. Well, here's the worst part: Skate 3 servers were taken offline because the game wasn't popular anymore. And then 2 weeks before E3, they came back online, and they didn't mention it. They didn't put out a press release.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't put out and believe me, I still play Skate 3. It's one of those games that's like just comfort. Like, I could fuck around and play Skate 3 and listen to a podcast. Like, that's what I do. I'm like, and again, I could go, as a skateboarder, I go to the same spot, and I just keep doing I'm like, let me try a kickflip back crook. Let me try a kickflip nose. And I'm just doing the same shit again. Wish I could do it in real life, but I can't because I'm too fat. But they took off the servers. They took off all the multiplayer servers, and everybody's like, well, we can still play a single player, but this game is essentially dead. Yeah. And then 2 or 3 weeks before E3, without a press release, without anything, all of a sudden, subreddit, holy shit, the servers are back online. And everyone was just like, here we go. They're going to put the servers back online.
Yeah.
Skate 4 is happening. We're all losing our minds. And I sat in my chair right there and watched that EA conference, and they were like, at the beginning they said we're going to end with Anthem. And as soon as they started talking about Anthem, I literally was like, fuck this. And I just got up and walked away. I was like, I don't give a shit about that game. And my daughter's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, Skate 4 didn't get fucking shown. That's what's wrong with me. And I was completely ruined. I didn't care at all. Now, here's the other thing too, because I'm still into skateboarding games, I have back sessions on Kickstarter. I had the demo on my computer. So as soon as Microsoft said launch exclusive, and I saw it, I was like, that's awesome that Sessions got on screen. I knew it was Session. I knew it wasn't Skate 4 because unless Microsoft gave them just stupid amounts of money for the license. But the only reason why Sessions is console launch exclusive is because it's coming to game preview first. That's it. And if you paid for a certain Kickstarter level, you're supposed to get it by the end of the year. Which, again, I knew what the game was because I still follow skateboarding, and they marketed the game as like a spiritual successor to Skate, which, by the way, it really is. And it's not a bad game. Granted, I have like an alpha of the game, and it's still rough, but some of it feels really good. And I'm like, again, I got that same emotion, like, this is what I wanted Skate to be, and it is, and this is what I want a new skateboarding game to be. Tony Hawk 5, when I heard it was announced, I was like, okay. And then like reviews came in, and even like the best one was Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny straight went, dude, this game is really bad. And I'm like, oh no. And they were like,
they wrecked it.
We made a weird decision. Like there was buttons to like go, or there was like certain buttons for like moving. And I was like, what are you guys doing? But, no, like I knew what Sessions was, so I didn't freak out, but I was happy to see it on screen because I knew people were gonna freak out about it. But I knew it wasn't Skate 4. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that's really cool. They got Sessions on screen. And I don't know if they heard through the grapevine, like, granted, they show this, they plan this shit up 6 months in advance, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, them putting that on there with all the Skate hype. I absolutely love, if you go into EA's comment section on any of their Instagram posts, it's the greatest thing ever.
I see Skate 4 on everything.
Please make Skate 4. Yeah. Please make Skate 4. It could be a Madden, FIFA, Burnout, Unravel. It doesn't matter. Please make Skate 4. Because like Instagram has a lot of skateboard culture. Because again, it's like perfect for skateboarders. Little quick clips,
videos and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, just please make Skate 4. But yeah, I saw Sessions and I was like, I'm really happy that's on screen right now because that makes me happy. So yeah, and the only reason why it's coming to Xbox, and they said in the Kickstarter, game preview. That's it. Like they were just like, we can do game preview. Obviously, we're gonna put it on PlayStation later, but game preview we'll get it to you guys sooner. So we're gonna put it on Xbox as well.
Yep.
I have it backed. I'm waiting to get that download because I'll be really happy for that. But and then so you never really mess with Xbox until now.
Yep.
But that's good because again, thanks to backward compatibility, you can go just play all the cool shit. Like,
doing backward compatibility, doing Game Pass. I have a game share partner, so like we're buying games together and getting it together, so which is amazing. So I have like at my disposal like right now I think over 200 games, and most of which I have never played. So some I have on PS4 or whatever, but a majority of them never played before. So I'm kind of delving in that way.
I think the best thing in the world is the fact that you have a game share partner. Because I have one, except for he's my son and he doesn't buy shit, so I kind of have to just buy things. But that's all right. Very rarely has he been like, "I want this game," and secretly I go, "Me too." But I'll let him use his allowance. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." One of those was Rocket. What's funny though, actually, because of my son, I was able to find games I wouldn't have played on my own, like Rocket League.
Okay, sure.
He straight was like, "This game looks awesome." And again, I heard of it and I was like, and he bought it. And then like one day my buddy's like, "Hey dude, you got Rocket League?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think my son bought that." And I played it. I'm like, "This is such a good game. Like, this is really a good game." But yeah, if you have somebody to do game sharing with, if you have Game Pass, it's pretty much the best combo.
Oh yeah,
like,
totally.
Ever. That's such a good deal. So, and by the way, speaking of Star Wars games, actually good Star Wars games on Xbox. Like Knights of the Republic and Republic.
Yeah, Knights of the Republic. And,
there's actually like decent Star Wars games on the Xbox and Jedi Academy and like by the way, Force Unleashed, good
Force
Star Wars game.
I like the Force Unleashed games. I do like those ones.
Yeah, those were fine. Those were good. By the way, again, as a Star Wars nerd, I just heard,
and the old Battlefronts were great too. The PS2 Battlefronts were good. Those are better than the new ones, but yeah.
Yeah, sad face on those. No, you're right. What's funny is, and again, I'm a Star Wars nerd, so when I was working at the video game store, Battlefront was shown off, and they were talking about it coming out and all that shit. And initially, I was just like, that's cool. But around the same time, I was out of Star Wars to the point where I wasn't following enough. I just knew Battlefront was coming out. I was at a Walmart at midnight with my wife, because we were single or we were together at the time with no kids, so we, you do those Walmart trips at midnight for no reason. So all of a sudden, I see a bunch of people in line for something, and I'm like, what the fuck are all these people here for? The original trilogy was coming out on DVD for the first time.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh.
I need that.
I need that. So, and then at the same time, shout out to Xbox, there was a demo disc in there for Battlefront that you could put into your Xbox. And I read that, and I was like, that's interesting. Let me play this. That morning, I went into work because I worked at the game store. I was like, I need Battlefront right now. Like, this game is incredible.
It was so good.
It was so good. And then, of course, we all got hyped when EA had it, and then
ruined it.
Whatever. Here's what's funny. Honestly, here's the thing. I think. I don't think EA ruined it. I think, in a way, people have become spoiled. In a way, I think people would just think because I don't necessarily think it's bad to have an ability to pay money to, I'm not going to say have an advantage, but to get loot boxes and stuff. I get it. The way that they did it was a little egregious, they were which they've restructured and they've eaten shit and, they've taken it on the chin. We're sorry. We redid everything and all that. So I get that. But I think people it was the most downvoted comment on Reddit history. I'm like,
oh yeah,
guys, we're talking about a fucking video game here. Why are we hating this company so much? But yeah, dude, I remember Battlefront and Battlefront 2, and I played the shit out of those games. They were great.
So good.
And I've played Star Wars Battlefront. Again, I don't play it often, but I have EA access, so I had a 10-hour trial, which I was like, that's probably a good amount of time for me to play this and never buy it. It's fine. It's not it's not reminiscent of back in the day. It's fine. Stop it, people. You get all mad. These fucking videos.
You got those memories. It's just like if they ever tried to redo GoldenEye now, people would just hate it. It's one of those things that because they loved it so much. Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's one of those things if you love so much, if they try and redo it now, no matter how they do it, you're gonna hate it. It's Nintendo fans all the time, or non-Nintendo fans all the time, say they need to make Link talk. No, don't, because whatever his voice is going to sound like, you're gonna hate it. So don't let him talk. Let him be silent. That's fine. Yeah, everybody else can talk.
Yeah, exactly. I just think so that's the problem is nostalgia plays tricks on your head, and you just think something's way better than it was, and then you go back and play it, or the remaster. Again, they did the remaster of, it's funny I bring it back, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, and I played it and I was like, ugh, it's okay, but the music, I was like, fuck yeah, this music's back. Awesome.
Right.
Again, that was just the nostalgia in my head of just the music, doing the hangar level. I was like, yes, this is awesome. But then overall, playing more of the game, I was like, this is okay, but I have Skate now. Skate's such a better game. That's the thing is Perfect Dark. That's the perfect example. They put Perfect Dark on Xbox.
Yep.
Oh, 360. And I bought it because people were, of course, talking about how good it was, and I never had it on 64. I never played it. And then I played it, and it's fucking trash. It's not a good game. Comparable to what games are now. That's the big thing.
Right.
When you compare it in scope, back then it was incredible because it was the pinnacle. It was the top. It was it. Now game controls have gotten significantly better, and just everything significantly better. And, you know, you can't go back and play some of those games. I think 64, or not 64, Super Nintendo era, they play so well.
Yes.
They do. 64 is when they just were like figuring out 3D and obviously working the kinks out because that shit was sketchy. But yeah, I mean, that's why I will tell you forever, there will never be an N64 classic.
I'm with you. I people that want that, I'm like, you don't.
You
don't. You want it because you want a shelf piece. Maybe to you look, you have these little mini consoles would be real cute, but it's like you can't. Super Mario 64, yes, it revolutionized 3D gaming. We know that. You cannot go back and play that. It is trash. Like you just can't do it.
Bad.
Ocarina of Time. I'm never going back and playing that version of it. I'll play they did a remaster on GameCube. That's the 3DS. Yeah. Like those ones were substantially better. It's like no, you can't go back and play those eras. You know, NES, even NES games like the NES Classic, even stuff I hacked. A lot of it going back and playing. I'm like, man, this is rough. I think SNES aged the best out of all of them.
Right.
And it's like that's fine, but N64 Classic is a terrible idea because those games are not aging well at all.
Not to
do
mention,
remasters of those games instead and make me happy. Do that instead.
Not to mention, most of your popular games they don't own the license for. So sorry.
That too. Yep.
Sorry. Like you're. By the way, speaking of wrestling, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000.
God. All those.
Yes.
All the WCW wrestling games. All those are the best.
So
those
good.
are the best.
By the way, that was like we mentioned how like different games happened. Like PlayStation had. Well, they had Attitude, which was just bad.
That was on N64 too, but it was bad. This is when they changed the controls from the grapple, like to the action-y kind of. Yeah, it was terrible.
But then, like, they had SmackDown on PlayStation, which was okay, but it was nothing like the 64 ones, dude. They were just better, and they were 4-player, and you could just and of course, I love just how fucking squarish they all looked.
Yep.
And it was the only way you could tell The Rock was The Rock because he had one humongous eyebrow up to the top of his skull. No idea why, but again, you had to work with a flat face. What are you going to do?
Yep. And the creative character, you had to make all your friends in the game.
Yep. Exactly. You had the friends that you want to beat up, so you put them in the game because you just beat them up. You can hit them with a folding chair. I mean, you can't do this shit in real life. You'll get sued and put in jail and whatever. You can do it in WrestleMania. But yeah, like that's just it's just weird to think back like on those types of games and how the nostalgia and people think those games are just better and they're not. You're going to go back and also again like name 25 64 games that they own the license to or could acquire the license to that would make that console happen. I'll wait.
Yeah, they're not going to, and that's the thing too. Is like, and that console itself would end up costing way more. So we look at how much it goes up, and everyone thinks like, oh, you can get N64 Classic, it'll be like $80. Like, no, it's not. If it comes out, it's going to be like $130, and then you're at the point in my mind once you hit $100, like that nostalgia just isn't worth it. Go play an emulator, play a ROM, play it on your PC. Yeah. Go pirate it instead,
or like you said, play the better remasters that are available. Like, just go do that. Like. I don't know. Again, Nintendo finally got their shit together and started making NES Classic again. So good for you. Like, I don't know why you stop that when you're making stupid amounts of money.
I know they'll make it so much money.
Fucking Nintendo. God. Nintendo just like I don't know what they do. I don't think they have the internet yet because they obviously can't figure it out on their console. I don't think they have the internet.
They might not.
No, they're probably just like, hey, hold on. How many of those NES Classics are we selling?
They're going to start charging for their online access, and then they'll use that money to buy internet, so they can finally. Get in tune.
Right?
Yeah.
Earthring, suddenly.
Yeah, they'll get the CD-ROMs for the 30-day trials.
Yeah. Pretty sure you had better voice chat on that fucking shit than Nintendo. Anyways. Well, I mean, yeah, I just... Dude, the first time I played Mario Kart on Wii U, I was so pissed because... And it's funny, you go through Facebook and you have those memories. I had a rant the other day from that shit. Mario Kart, you can talk in the lobbies, but not during the game.
Yeah. Yep.
Am I going to remember 45 seconds later when I wrecked my friend Mike and fucking hit him with a blue shell? Am I going to wait 45 seconds to tell him how much he sucks?
Yeah.
Or could I just do it in the moment like every other fucking game on Earth? Like last time I checked, Halo 2 on Xbox had proximity chat.
Yep.
You can't figure this shit out. Like, all right, whatever. But that's fine. So yeah, man, then they'll start charging you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how often people buy that shit. I mean,
although it's dirt cheap though, and you can family share. So you can put I think it's like 10 people for that $20 a year.
Oh, okay.
But you can share with up to 10 people. So it's like we've already set it up on PSVG side. We've already covered it. So
there you go. That works.
And we're all doing it together. So
nice.
It's like whatever.
Yeah. The other thing, like I'm not opposed to buying a second Switch because my son won't stop playing Breath of the Wild. Like,
yeah.
He just fucking won't stop. But until you figure out your cloud saves and until you figure out, I don't know how digital if game sharing is available.
It's not.
Oh,
everybody has their own thing, which is trash right now. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you can have obviously if you have the separate profiles on the one Switch, you can all use it. But if you set up a second one, there's not any way of sharing the purchases, which is dumb. At least not yet. Who knows? But
we'll see. Well, again, they're virtual console. Everybody waited for that too, and look where that went. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Well, if people wanted to check you out and play games with you on the Switch, because you know your friend code off the top of your head, right?
Oh, sure. I just tell people to find me on Twitter at PSVGKevin and friend share, and then you can check your sync thing on Twitter, and you'll find my profile that way.
There you go.
That's the easier way of doing it.
Because, of course, Nintendo won't just fucking make it easy and give you a gamer tag, but it's all right. So, yeah, what all you do? Obviously, you mentioned your show and everything, so
yeah.
Away.
Yeah, so you can find me on the PSVG Podcast Network. I'm the podcast manager, I guess you can say. I kind of jack of all trades there, but I'm mainly the host of the PSVG show and co-host of Arcadia Academia there. But yeah, you can find the whole network of stuff we do over at psvg.blog. You can find all the different shows. Our network has 8 shows, I think, right now. So we're part of the Make Us Better community there with Sean Capri and them. So check all that stuff out.
Absolutely, and yeah, go check them out on Patreon, because I don't think there's a single person on there who's bad or mean or makes bad content. So
just Donnie. Donnie's terrible.
Yeah, Donnie. And I mean Dave. Dave makes terrible content. I'm just playing. Dave, you make great stuff. We like you. Dude, by the way, if you want a good laugh, go listen to Dave on the Xbox prediction show.
Xbox Drive.
Good Lord. Fantasy Zone X. That was a prediction. I'm not kidding you. If you want just the ridiculous, me, Luke, and Sean tried. Dave says he tried. He didn't.
Dave also hates every game, so I don't understand why he even podcasts about games. He hates everything.
He doesn't play things, and he doesn't like things, but I mean, again, that's why we like him. I was also bummed out when he kept editing God of War out of the Xbox Drive. I was like, yes. Come on, just let him say the word God of War. Jeez. But it's all right. We love you, Dave. Don't worry. We don't hate you.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean. Shout out to the Xbox Drive. Listen to that show. Do it while you're driving, too, and it makes it weirdly better.
Yes. It's like you're with them.
It's like you're with them. It's like Sean sitting right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. And then you order. I made the joke. I went to McDonald's and asked for a Sean Capri, and they just looked at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I'm like, "God, you guys are not with the times." So, well, thank you, good sir, for being on the show. Thank you for sharing all your awesome stories of getting traumatized with a power glove. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks, man. All right, and again, thank you, Kevin, for being on the show. If you guys want to check out any of the things he does, go ahead and check out his website for the podcast network is psvg.blog. You can also, he mentioned Patreon. He is part of with Sean Capri of the Patreon for Make Us Better. So you can go ahead and check him out and support him there at patreon.com/makeusbetter. Make sure you go toss him a couple bucks, because, therapy's expensive when you have to talk to them about traumatizing situations, whatever they may be, involving video games or not. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Of course, also subscribe, share it with a buddy, make sure you get the word out there, and that way we can just continue to grow the show month after month. So thank you guys so much for returning. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next week with another new episode. See ya.